Dear listeners, welcome to Australia podcast Scientist on Stage, a podcast that shines light on the human being behind the scientist. A meaningful conversation with the scientist about their own journey, about logic and rationality, and the hidden emotions behind that rationality. These are their authentic stories. Our guest is Isabelle Kohler, founder and CEO of NextMinds and assistant professor at Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam. We talked about dealing with a difficult health condition and how that is transforming us. How can we be understood by our colleagues when such struggle is invisible? Isabelle, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. I am very happy.
Thank you for joining us. We want to start to actually dig a little bit deeper into who we are as human beings, but because we do not know you yet, would you like to say a few words, who you are, what you do, anything that you would like to share with us?
Yes, so I think you gave already a good introduction saying what I do in terms of work. So I have two hats, as you mentioned in the introduction. So I'm assistant professor at the VU. So originally I'm a pharmacist, and first I thought, I want to work in a pharmacy because I really wanted to help people. But then I realized that actually working for, let's say, 40 years in a pharmacy was not something that I found very exciting. So I decided to go towards research, and I really, really liked that. So I basically started on this path. And that was 15 years ago, and I'm still kind of on this path in the Netherlands. Originally, I'm from Switzerland, so I also moved to the Netherlands more than 10 years ago for the postdoc, and I liked it so much that I decided to stay. But then at some point I thought I miss a bit a kind of fulfillment in my career, and I realized that academia is really great for many things. We also know that sometimes it's challenging for others, but it's really great for many things. But I had some ideas and I wanted to develop other talents that I have, and I thought that maybe academia would not give me enough space for that, I would say. So I decided to found my own company that is called NextMinds, so that I can really implement all the ideas that I have, even crazy ideas, and I have a company where I can do that. So now I'm doing that in parallel, and I think I'm quite happy with that.
You mentioned that you started your job in 2020, completely new job in a way, in the middle of a pandemic. Many things have changed afterwards in 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Share with us some thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was a nice. Of course, I had no idea that I would start in the middle of a pandemic. So I signed my contract, I think in January 2020. So it was the moment that we started to think like, something is going not well, let's say. And I started in May at the VU. It took time for me to also meet my new colleagues, but I was quite lucky because I already knew my boss because they were part of the network, and I found that. So I'm someone who is quite introvert, and I do like to work from home. So for me, it was like a moment of like, whoa, I can actually start, my own research line, because that was the aim, like write grants and things like that. I had like quite a lot of time to do that, especially in the first month, because I didn't have much education, and I thought, that's not gonna last long, like, a couple of months and then we're out of that. It didn't. So then I really also had to work like super hard with all this online education and everything. So yeah, it was I think like everyone an adventure. And yeah, at the moment that I thought this is going to be the end for many people, that we can kind of go back to normal, then I got COVID for the first time. And that's the moment that I started another pandemic on my own, because I was unfortunate in the sense that I belong to the long COVID patients, and I'm slowly but surely getting out of it. But it has been quite a huge change, huge struggle as well, to also try to manage work and a company, because everything happened exactly at the same time, and following a training in coaching. So it was really like a big thing happening in my life with this. And yeah, quite a struggle.
And how did you manage then to channel your energy? Because the long COVID requires a lot of our energy then, and we get very tired. In the same time, you had to do your own work as well. You follow a coaching trajectory as well. How did you manage? What was your approach?
I think I did not. That's the secret. No, so indeed you're right. So basically I had so all the typical symptoms, which means that basically I had no energy. And when I would make an effort, would that be physical or mental, then I would crash afterwards. So it means that I would have even less energy and I would just be like not capable of doing anything. And for someone who is like high achiever and multitasking and efficient and all these things, then this was not possible anymore. I never actually stopped working, but I was on a partial sick leave for a year and a half. And basically I had to start learning again. How do you deal with that? So I think what happened, and now I am in the place where I start to understand this in my own life, was basically that I think my organism had been pushed a lot because I wanted to do a lot. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to party hard in some ways. I think I was still a bit also tired from this pandemic, like many people, and I'm not that resistant physically, let's say. I think mentally okay, but physically a bit less. And then I think my organism needed at some point to basically have a break or to slow down. And the infection came, and well, it's quite something for the body, right? Because it activates the immune system and everything. So my body basically exploded. And I really felt it like that, like
an explosion.
It kind of, so during the few days of the infection, it was like a normal thing. But then afterwards, I felt like my life energy was gone. And it really felt like that. And this was scary because you notice that. And I'm a scientist and a pharmacist, so I understand these things. And I could still read scientific papers, and it was in 2023, so there was some information available on long COVID, so I was quite lucky with that. So then you enter in a kind of mood or life, let's say, where first you feel alone, because you are actually alone. You don't know what's happening. You don't recognize your body, so your body is doing things that you're like, I've never seen that. I have no idea what's happening, like all organs are basically feeling like they are failing, and you're like, but if they are failing, I'm gonna die. So then you have the feeling you're gonna die, even though you don't. So that was okay, but you have to like learn to deal with that in a very dynamic way as well. And also, yeah, how do you deal with that for work? Because so I first started, I think I was working 30%, because I wanted to still have a bit of education, and I didn't want to be out because it felt like too much. I wanted to still be in contact, but so I live in Leiden, and the VU is in Amsterdam, so I couldn't go to work because that's too much effort, and just the idea of like wearing my shoes to go downstairs to then go to the train station, not possible. That was not an option. So then you have to also with work try to find a way to still do something and feel like you can still contribute, and deal with guilt as well, because of course everyone is already busy, but you know that if you leave the boat temporarily but still leave the boat, you know that someone else would get all your tasks. You start also to be afraid because that lasted quite long. So after like 1 year, you also have issues with your salary and everything, and then you start to think, man, I built like my career, and it's not the moment that I want to see it like being destroyed because of that. But what I understand now, it's also okay, I can't have this type of career with like high achiever and working hard and not sleeping or things like that, because my body doesn't want that or can't, doesn't matter, it's the same. And I have to now create a new career based on that, but in an environment that is still the same. And that we know academia is quite demanding. So I'm very fortunate that my group, my boss, and also, well, the institute and the division have been very supportive. So I'm super lucky with that, because I know that it's not the case for everyone. So they do give me the space. But still, like, it's now it's a bit the challenge. How can I make it work in the way that I want to make it work? Because now my body is my priority. If my body says like, no, you're tired, like, okay, I'm tired. That's normal actually to be tired, you know. That's
you need to take a rest.
Yeah, I do need to take a rest. And okay, there's accumulation of emails, of whatever, everything, but like I just can't, you know. But it's I think that's gonna be now the major challenge for me in the coming month, is that I also do want to do a lot, also with NextMinds and coaching people and everything, but I realized that I have to manage this balance and also manage my own expectations and manage the expectations of others. And in academia, you don't hear very often people who basically say like, hey, you know what, I'm like not like feeling super well today, you know, I'm just gonna chill a bit.
You don't say that.
No, you don't, you know, and that's also something that, well, I'm very open about that. I think I'm probably annoying also for some people that they're like, oh, you know, this one with long COVID and all these things. But I think it's also like a discussion that I would like to have also, to say, but you know, we don't all have to just like have a lifestyle where we don't sleep, or we don't do sport, or we don't eat, or we don't eat healthy, because for me it doesn't make sense to do research, especially in my field. We do research to try to help the society to like maybe cure diseases in terms of, for instance, a new drug or something like that for things like obesity or Alzheimer's disease or things like that. Great, but then look at the way that they behave in their own life. Like they send emails at 3 a.m., they work like the entire weekend, they don't sleep, and they eat like nothing or barely something. Like, to me, that it doesn't sound logical. I'm just like, I don't see the point of doing that. And this is something like, now I want to also be like, as researcher and teacher, I want to be true to myself and take that as a life lesson that I also share with people, saying like, yeah, you know, for me it's important now to, first thing in the morning, I'm gonna do my sport. I have to try like where we can meet each other with this type of expectations.
So in a way, you do what you preach. If you work to do research to make the world a better place and a healthier place, we should also be the example to show that we have a healthy life and that we do not ignore our body, we don't ignore eating healthy, that we do sleep sufficiently and take care of ourselves as well.
Yeah, because it's like so easy, you know. I'm like, why do we need, why NWO that put millions or billions in research? Great, but do we really need like sometimes complex things for research when one of the answers would be just go sleep, you know, close your laptop and go sleep, because sleep is good for you. But yeah, sleep is like, I don't know, if you need sleep, you're considered maybe weak or like not ambitious or things like that. And I'm like, no, that's just like an easy thing, right, to do.
And so experiencing this physical tiredness made us think also to have a moment to stop, to reorganize our life, to think differently, while the system is the same in a way, the surrounding is the same. And you said you had to convince yourself about certain things and set your expectations right, and also set expectations of the others.
Yeah.
How did you first for yourself set your new expectations right? How did you do that?
Yeah, so it's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, understood. No, it's really like so that's why I think the beauty of this thing, and now I can say that, maybe a year ago was too early to say that, is that you're out of society basically long enough to take the time to think and to look for this information. And I think the other beauty was to follow this training in coaching and counseling. And that was like really 1 year of training in the middle of this long COVID period. So of course that was also a way for me to share that with them. And I think I understood a lot about that thanks to my co-students at the time, my colleagues. And so I think that was also kind of a blessing to have that at the same time. But I think it's really also a lot of reading, a lot of exchanging with other people, and also a kind of mindset where you're like, okay, so it's either I stay on my couch and I complain, or I'm just like, my life sucks, because that's the way that it was in the beginning and I'm panicked. Or you think, okay, I have something working initially very well in me, that's my brain. And I think that's also something that young scientists, researcher, and everyone, they forget is that they have a brain, and the brain that is working. So it was a bit impacted, but still it was working. And I was thinking, okay, I can learn, I can get knowledge, I can try to translate this knowledge into something that will work for me. And that's a bit how it started for me. I started to read books also about the connection between the mind and the body, and to understand that when you get this type of condition, and you need the time to recover, but once this acute phase is out, it's the moment that you need to, like, you can transform your body to make it again go back to normal, and not feel like every time that there's like a small something happening. So basically that's what was happening, is that if I would have a small trigger, then it would explode again. So it would be again like, ooh, fight or flight. There's a big tiger in the room. I'm gonna be attacked. Not really. So then you can like kind of retrain your body to and your brain not to do that, and then to go back to something that is a bit more normal and sustainable. So now I'm in this phase of trying to implement what I've read a lot and exchange also with other people on that, and try to make it work.
You went back to the rationality, back to actually being a scientist,
yeah,
and living an experiment yourself.
Yeah, totally,
and seeing what happens.
Totally. That was a lot of also in terms of like supplements, things like that. So of course I'm a pharmacist. I love everything that looks like a supplement. So you can't imagine the number of things that I've tried, like combination, and also writing down like, okay, did it go better or not, and everything. Probably a lot of money also that went into that. But I think that's part of the process. I think that I also needed to go through that and to have the patience also, which I found very challenging. Can you imagine 1.5 years, like almost 2 years now? But then now I'm thinking, that's actually long, but it was needed to have this switch in my brain, which I find really, really nice.
In a very good way, you turn the situation from something as closing down, but through the rationality that you have, you live the experiment, your own experiment, you took care of yourself in a certain way, and then you went in that journey to actually make it positive.
Yeah.
To think, how am I going to solve it? And also make up the mind that I might not be getting better to the level where I was before. Yeah. So you also say in a way goodbye to yourself from the past.
Totally. And I find that like so beautiful. But then it's also quite challenging to explain that to others, because now we take the time, for instance, to exchange on that. But if someone asks me, so at work people ask me, so how are you doing? Poof, this question. Like, what do you want, like the short version or the long or the extra long where I'm going to tell you everything? So
what would you tell to people when they will ask you, how are you?
Yeah, that was, so I had that actually, that's a very good question, because I had that yesterday. That I went to work to my office, so that was the first time, and I saw then again my colleagues, so most of them I hadn't seen for 1.5 years, so it was amazing to see them again. And many asked me, so how are you doing? And I knew they wanted to hear. So I took the time to explain. So what I did is to say, like, I look the same, except my hair color. I'm just not the same person. So if I react differently than what they were used to, for those who worked with me before, then that's normal, because I need to set new boundaries, or I needed to set new boundaries, new priorities as well. The speed of work is different and everything. So I said it's going to be someone different, but it's still someone cool, I hope.
In the way you change the color of your hair as a signal for, I have become somebody else. Yeah. And I have to deal with the system and with myself in a very different way in the current situation. Very different than before.
Oh, that's maybe a metaphor that I can use for people to explain, like, okay, what you see is a bit different. So actually that's reflecting what is inside of me, that it's not I just disappeared and now I'm back. There has been quite a lot going on in the middle. Yeah.
And is there any way that the response of your colleagues of being a different Isabelle now than in the past? I can imagine if you be my colleague, then I will always think, oh, this is how we used to be, and this is how we used to talk, and this is what we used to do, but now it's not possible anymore. How can I deal with that?
Yeah, good question. I don't know yet. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna ask. It's difficult to imagine what it means, So I know that people maybe don't understand, and if they see me, they're just like, hey, how can this person be tired that she needs, like so tired that she needs to have a nap in the afternoon? can we meet again on at some point where everyone is satisfied with the situation? And if they need more and I can't provide that, then I think we look for other options. But I'm thinking now also what I'm saying, that with students, of course, because they have been also, I'm going to use the word victims of my situation, but that's true because, for instance, I couldn't go to the Vrije for quite some time. So 1 year I only gave lectures online, or my course online, because that's the only way that would work for me and would work for my department as well. So I thought, my God, these poor students, they would think like, oh, we're back to the pandemic. And I don't think they enjoyed that. So then I try to be as open as possible to say, okay, this is what happens to me. This is how I feel now. This is my plan. I can imagine that it's impacting you. I truly apologize for that. But I would like to make it work. I saw in the course evaluation that apparently they were okay with that. So I think for me, it feels like as long as you communicate, and you ask them, are you okay with that? And if they are not, how can we make it work, And I think many were, I do notice that every time students say, oh, we're quite happy also that you, for instance, record the lectures, because some are also having struggles. And they are happy if I understand that they are having struggles and maybe they can't come to the Vrije to come to the lecture, or they have some issues, or they have to take care of someone of their family that has some issues as well. And I'm quite sensitive to that now because, of course, I've been through something. So I think that's also a kind of win for the students who are in a similar situation.
You set expectation right, it was understood, but in the same time you develop a sort of empathy.
Yeah.
For also other situations, and we might not know what everybody's going through. Kind of the human being again behind who we are as we are operating on the work floor. Everybody brings on luggage and on stories and on worries, but also on happiness as well.
Yeah.
So that made you a little bit more empathic to understand situations also for your students, that they might go themselves through certain situations that might be difficult.
Yeah.
Visible or invisible.
Definitely. And I think a lot of invisible as well. I really like this idea of trying to help as many people as possible, and I don't see why, for instance, you shouldn't study because you have a medical condition. For me, it's like you should, and then we're gonna try to help you, in the way that we can. But now going through that, I'm like even more, of course, more sensitive to that, and I realize also that students now feel maybe more open or comfortable to share their struggle with me, because they see like, okay, I'm welcoming that, we're gonna find a solution together. And it's often like invisible stuff, like sometimes I'm like, that's quite heavy. So if we can, I don't know if that's my role. Some other people would say, but if they are not in a shape to bring knowledge or in a stage where they can get this knowledge, that then no outcome or
the knowledge will just fly.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's also important just to try, like to really ask, okay, what do you need? How can we make it work? And sometimes we can't, and that's sad. But very often there is something that you can do, and it doesn't cost a lot of time or energy to actually make that happen. So I'm like, okay, let's just do that,
The philosophy behind your story here is to pay attention to the invisible struggles that we all have along the way, and maybe some of the things are visible, some of the things are not visible, but to also pay attention to those aspects.
Yeah, and I think because, the word, so I use the word struggle because I feel it is kind of neutral, even though a bit negative. I think it still really makes them as a human. And for instance, they have a lot of resilience or anything like human skills that really comes from this experience. And I think this is something that I want them to embrace as well, So I also want to shed more light on these invisible struggles, or visible, to also like use that in a more positive way or in a more empowering way, So not that people are just like, oh, I feel ashamed that, I don't know, they have a disease and they have to do something like quickly somewhere that no one is gonna see that. No, like this is you as a human. You have like really something in your personality now that is also related to this condition. So like embrace that, Maybe you're stronger than others. Very likely you're stronger than others. And like what you said with the empathy, for instance, for me, that also comes from that, right? So, and I find this positive.
To make the world a better place around us.
Absolutely.
The last question for you is the question from the previous podcast, and that was, did any luck played a role in your path to reach where you are right now?
Oh, wow. I think yes, but like many times, I think luck was involved. I think I will give one example where I think it was luck. So I went to a conference when I was a PhD student many years ago, and I met during one evening 3 persons that basically were in some way responsible for the last 15 years of my career, or 10 years of my career, because they basically, so I got to know them there, so they became part of the network. And one of this person is, for instance, now my boss, and one of the other person was basically responsible for me getting my previous job at the Leiden University, etc., etc. And I think that was really just for me luck of being present at a conference with these people, being in the same room, having a beer on that evening, a social event, whatever, on that evening. And I think that had such an impact on my professional path. And I wonder even if I would be in the Netherlands if I wouldn't have met these people there on that evening.
And I wonder if that was an opportunity that you saw and not necessarily a luck.
Correct, but then what is the difference then between luck and opportunity? Because I think luck is like the ignition of the thing, and then it's like, what do you do with that, right? Because even if you would get a lottery and you get like a lot of money, what do you do with this money? Then it becomes an opportunity. So I think the luck was for me to be there, maybe, and then indeed it's like, what did I do with being there, joining this event, talking to these people, and making then all the steps to make it happen. I think, yeah, that's why I needed time to think, like what is luck in some ways, and then when is it still luck, and when does it become an opportunity, right?
You transform the luck into an opportunity.
Yeah.
On luck you have no control, but if that happens and you see it as an opportunity, you do something with it.
Yeah.
And that might be the difference.
Yeah.
What question do you have for our next guest in the podcast?
So I would like to know if this person would have done something differently in their career. What would it be and why?
Thank you very much for being with us. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.